Alright, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Jessie and today I'm starting a dark academia reading vlog. In this vlog, I have picked out 35 books that I will be reading mostly as audiobooks on Libby because that's what's most convenient and easiest for me to read at the moment. And I have double checked Goodreads and seen how many people have categorized these books as dark academia on Goodreads to determine whether or not they fall into this vlog. And I'm going to Goodreads because I trust strangers to know the genre of what I'm reading more so than trust myself to know. I have a few books already picked out. I think I'm currently at 4 books, but one of the books, there's a decent chance my hold isn't going to come through before I get to finish this vlog or before the date that I'm intending for this vlog to go up. So it may be a 3-book vlog, but then again, I may also go and find more books that fit into the categories. And so for that reason, I don't want to be constantly introducing and reintroducing books that, may or may not get read depending on my mood, my reading rate, and what's available. So I'm going to be introducing these books one at a time as I get to them. And so for that reason, the first book I will be reading as an audiobook on Libby is The Ivies by Alexa Donne. The Ivies follows a group of 5 friends, and it starts on early decision day at their private, essentially prep school for college, where they're high school seniors. They're getting their decisions about, have they been accepted early into the private schools or the other just top general schools in the US, I guess. And on this day, one of their friends ends up dying. And so this group of girls, that is now 4 girls instead of 5, they're definitely considered suspects because of their friend dying, but also because they've kind of been mean girls the past several years, getting other people removed from spots to get themselves ahead. And they also all have, like the whole friend group, each girl has a college that they are essentially assigned to apply to. That way they don't end up being each other's competition. So this is a book that I'm really excited to get to. I'm really interested to see how it goes. This book is also kind of, I think, what I think of whenever I think of dark academia. I guess whenever I think of dark academia, I just assume it is like, an academic thriller or a thriller with a primarily academic setting. But then I look at, other books that are apparently considered dark academia, such as Tiny Pretty Things. Whenever I was looking at the dark academia tag on Goodreads, that book was listed, and that one definitely wasn't really a thriller, maybe a little bit of a suspense and a lot of a contemporary, but not, a thriller, in my opinion. And then Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo was also, I believe, listed. And that one, is set at Yale, but I don't think it's really, a thriller either. I think it's more of a mystery with a heavily academic-based setting with also a lot of fantasy mixed in. And so I think an interesting thing in this vlog is I'll get to see, different aspects of dark academia. Also, another thing I want to mention though is that The Ivies does technically have the lowest, dark academia ratings on Goodreads compared to the other books I currently have picked out. But I'm still interested to see how it goes. This is also a book I've still been excited to read, and I figured I could throw it in this vlog since it had enough votes for me to count it. My cats might have the zoomies, but I was just hopping on to, I guess, give a little reading update. This morning I have my observation hours at 10:30. Normally I go and start at 7:55. But only one of the teachers emailed me back, so I'm going at 10:30 today for one class. And this morning I went ahead and got up early to get dressed just in case the other teacher had emailed me, overnight or something, or to be prepared in case she emailed me at the last minute. But I haven't gotten a response, so I'm just going at 10:30 today. But this morning while I was getting dressed, I started listening to the audiobook for The Ivies by Alexa Donne. I have a really bad habit of watching YouTube videos, but they're not, or listening to YouTube videos while I'm getting dressed. But I think I want to use that time more productively for audiobooks. But the issue is whenever I do that, is that sometimes I have trouble putting them down and stopping reading. And so in about 2 hours, I have managed to listen to the first third of The Ivies. I'm a third of the way through. I'm having a great time with it. It is really good so far. And I want to keep reading, but I don't know if I'm gonna have time to keep reading today. And so now I just want to, whenever I start audiobooks, I essentially binge read them almost. I have a lot of trouble not finishing them all in 1 or 2 goes. But anyways, I started The Ivies. It's actually going really good so far. And honestly, I don't know if I would have heard about this book as soon as I did, or without other people talking about it, if I hadn't started following the author on her YouTube channel. But anyways, I guess let me talk about the actual book. So the book is about, you know, a group of friends who are all attending this like elite private school, and they all have hopes of getting into these Ivy League colleges. And over the past 3 years, they formed a little group calling themselves the Ivies. They each have a specific Ivy League school they really want to go to. And that way they all are, the leader of the group, Avery, she's essentially divided them into which school they will apply to. That way the 4 of them don't, or the 5 of them really, don't end up competing. Well, so far, a couple of girls appear to have applied for the same school. One girl is now dead. The whole group seems to be suspects. I think for some reason I thought the, you know, murder happened, you know, prior to the book. You know, like I assumed, I guess they'd be kind of like the Good Girls, where the murder happened right before the book started, and then you follow the characters. But I would say the first maybe 20% of the book is kind of leading up to the murder, and, you know, saying the backstory for the friend group, and, you know, how they, not necessarily how they got there, because it all starts, you know, on, I guess, the day that they find out their early admission status, if they got early admission, or if they need to apply for regular admission. I don't know, I didn't even deal with all this stuff. Whenever I applied for college, I just applied to the one school I wanted to go to, and I got in. And I applied at the last minute, not even really the last minute, just later than, I was in the top 10% of my class, and so I had, as long as I applied to a school in Texas, a public school in Texas, I was guaranteed to get in. So I didn't have to stress about it a lot. I knew I didn't want to go far from home or anything because I didn't want to spend money on it, which also leads me to the main character. The main character, she is a scholarship student at this school, and you can kind of tell so far that, I don't know if she can necessarily tell, but it almost feels like at least 1 or 2 of the girls in the friend group is only friends with her because she's the scholarship student, because, you know, she's closer to the offices for work study, she's all this and that, right? And the book is told from her first person point of view. And right now, even I can't tell who, you know, like as a reader, I have no idea who the like real suspect is at this point, because so many people, like, you know, that whole friend group, or really Avery, who is the leader / mean girl, seems to have the most motive so far. But at the same time, Sierra, who is another girl in the friend group, she's on the rowing team with Emma, she gave me some vibes around the 25% mark, or like literally right before the murder was discovered. She gives me vibes that she doesn't like Emma, but does she dislike her enough to murder her? And then something about Emma's boyfriend gives me the creeps. Plus there's a guy who was mentioned earlier who, that situation was kind of weird. Not the journalism guy, but this other guy who is essentially more or less referred to as a pothead. I don't think those were the exact words. They probably used, you know, more private school words for it. And then at the same time, the narrator, I can't tell if she's going to end up being an unreliable narrator. I don't quite know what's going on. She, as a Ivy League student who had the ability to apply to like Ivy League schools and have an actual chance at getting in, for some reason decided against speaking to the detective or the lawyer, which may or may not work in her favor, because, you know, her friends wanted to like build a timeline of the events leading up to the murder just to cover all of their backs. But that's kind of suspicious. And just at the same time, the way they did it almost seems like they're ganging up on Olivia, who is the main character. Like almost like, you know, maybe we can see them potentially trying to set her up. So I don't know where this is going. I want to keep reading, but it's about 8:45. I need to get myself dressed, get Rowan ready, because I have to take him to my grandmother's while I go to the high school to do my observation hours. And then I need to come home, and I really need to do a presentation and study for an exam. I'm at the point where, like, I know it needs to be done, but there's so much that needs to be done that I don't know where to start, and I feel overwhelmed. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. I will probably update you during the next third after I see where this is going. This is a book where I'm trying to be careful so I don't spoil anything, but I do want to actually talk about what's happening as it's happening within reason. So I am now about 2/3 of the way through the Ivies, and I'm pretty sure there's a really good chance I will finish this book today. Rowan has speech in a few, we're probably gonna have to leave in about 30 minutes, so I'm about to get him dressed after I update this part of the video. And then I'm probably gonna listen to the book on the way to town, on the way home, while Rowan is in speech, because like whenever he's in speech, I just kind of sit in the car. They don't have parents go back with them, which is fine because I think for the most part, even like whenever Rowan stays with my grandmother's always like, oh, he's all good till you show up. So he's definitely a better listener whenever I'm not there. And then, you know, the speech teacher can tell me what has happened. Anyway, tangent, but I am really enjoying the Ivies. I will say parts of it here and there feel a little bit cliche, a little bit extra dramatic, but I'm still having fun with it. So I don't know at this point, I don't know if like the Ivies, excluding Olivia, you know, the other girls in the group, I don't know if they really played a part in Emma's death. Like, I don't know if any of them actually murdered her, but I do feel like they played an important role in her death in some way. Ethan, who is like this guy that Olivia's had a crush on, has somehow been dragged into helping her. And then Olivia's also now getting like kind of threatened to, you know, stop digging for information. Olivia also, she's in this weird spot where I don't know if she's really a suspect in the case anymore, but I think she still kind of is. And, you know, the detective on the case will stop and talk to her, ask her questions, but it's not 100% clear whether or not she's a suspect. Like, Olivia definitely feels like she might still be a suspect. I'm really interested to see how this book ends. I'm really interested to see who killed Emma. I still think there's a little bit of a chance for Olivia to be an unreliable narrator, but as the book goes on, I feel like that's becoming less and less likely. But I don't think it's out of the woods. I don't think it's impossible that she would be an unreliable narrator. But I am probably going to end up finishing this book today because I'm getting to the point in the book where I have trouble with putting it down. Once I get to that 75 to 80% mark, if the book is good, it's not getting put down unless I absolutely have to. Which is why I'm probably going to listen to it on the way to town. I'm probably going to listen to it while Rowan's in speech. I'm probably going to listen to it on the way home. And if I still haven't finished it, I will probably listen to it when I get home. I'll try to do some laundry or something. And then I've got to do homework today. I've been trying to do a little bit of homework every day, but I'm a little stressed on this presentation. Like, I know what to do. It's just actually sitting down to do it. I'm having trouble with that motivation. I just need to get it done. But anyways, that's really all I have for now on the Ivies without really spoiling it. I'm having a good time. Olivia is an interesting character in the sense that, you know, she's kind of a fish out of water. See, I don't know if she's necessarily poor, but her mom is a single mother and a teacher, and I know teachers don't make a ton of money, but she makes enough to kind of get by, right? And she would make enough to get by and be comfortable if, you know, Olivia wasn't at a private school full of, like, just incredibly rich peers. As well as, you know, she's kind of finding out that her friend group may or may not have really been her friends. So I'm interested to see where the story goes, and I'm excited to keep listening to it. All right, I finished the Ivies before we ever even got home from Rowan's speech. I ended up reading the book. I think it's gonna be a 5-star read for me. Once you find out who the killer is and their motive for killing Emma, it is probably the stupidest reason ever, but I think the rest of the book, the journey to figuring out who the killer is, exploring, like, you know, trying to determine who the killer is, trying to determine whether or not you can really trust the main character and stuff. Like, that journey, I think it all makes it worth it just to find out that the killer had probably not the best motives, especially given all you discover about Emma throughout the book. So I think in the last 2 clips, I have described Olivia as an unreliable narrator because I could never just tell if, you know, something was gonna come up that, you know, maybe she did it. And so I will say that she isn't really an unreliable narrator in that sense, but she isn't a likable character. Like, I think you can empathize her for, you know, being poor at a rich person's school to an extent, because I know that's gotta suck. It's probably incredibly difficult and frustrating to be around all your peers who have all this money and all this privilege based off their money, and, you know, they can do all this stuff because they have money, and then you don't have that money, you don't have all the same experiences. But then you start looking at other stuff with it, kind of like, you know, Olivia, she was the one who went and sought out the school, sought out the scholarship test, and tried to get in, right? And so it becomes hard to empathize with her for being a poor person at a rich school, especially, you know, when her mom tells her, like, just come home from the school. I don't like who you are whenever you're in the school. Just come home. You've already gotten this, and that. Just come home and finish your time at a regular public high school near me, right? And so in that sense, it's a little bit harder to empathize with Olivia for being, you know, rich or being poor at a rich person's school. And I don't even know if it's necessarily hard to empathize with her. It's just every now and then it's like, that you knew what you were going into when you signed up for this. But at the same time, you can't really blame her either, because she did sign up for the school to, I guess, make her life better later on, you know, whenever she gets to go from, like, after, like, you know, the school gives her a good setup for the rest of her life, but at the same time, it occasionally seems self-inflicted. Another issue that makes the character Olivia a little bit unlikable is that as the book goes on, you want to empathize with her because she's the main character. Typically, I know that I tend to want to like the main character. I tend to want to see the best in them, right? And everyone makes mistakes. But Olivia is very much, you know, she wants to be innocent and stuff, despite the fact that she has been a huge participant in the games the Ivies play for the past few years. She has done a lot of stuff she's not proud of. And sure, she doesn't know everything that other girls have done without her. That is worse. But I will agree with, you know, something Avery says. That's basically, you don't get to pretend you weren't one of us. You did everything willingly, essentially, right? And so I think that was an interesting take as well. But basically, I had a really good time with this book. I can see people potentially finding it, you know, a little cheesy here and there, but I had a good time with it. I really enjoyed it. I was very interested to see what would happen between Olive and the rest of the friend group. I was interested to see, you know, who would be the killer and what the motives were. And once again, the motives for killing Emma, like for the person who did kill Emma, were incredibly dumb, especially given all the other stuff you find out Emma is involved in as the book goes on. But it was a really good time. I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm excited for whatever book I read next, and I will update you probably once I've started the next book, or if I decide to do a vote or something on the next book, I'll let you know then. Alright, I have started Bunny by Mona Awad today. I've been listening to it off and on since this week, or even today. It's just been a very busy and stressful day. I'm not quite sure what this book's about. It follows Samantha. She is an adult woman in a master's program, like a fine arts master's program, I guess, for creative writing, I'm assuming. And I think she's in her second year. It's a pretty prestigious school. I don't know if it's technically an Ivy League school or not, but it is a prestigious writing school that has a lot of experimental writing. She gets a decent budget to live off of and write while also going to classes. And in her cohort, there are these group of girls that she calls Bunny, who are all just very weird with each other in some ways, I guess. And it's just, they caught her attention her first year. But she and her best friend Ava, who dropped out of another art school because she felt like, you know, the art school was just dampening her creativity, they kind of, you know, talk trash about the bunnies a little bit. And then one day, at the beginning of the next year, her second year, the fall semester, Samantha gets invited to go to one of the bunnies' smut salons and see what that is. Samantha's like, you know, very interested in the bunnies. She very much is intrigued by them. And so in doing so, she begins to, I guess, pay more attention to the bunnies and be involved in their friend group. And she kind of, so far, seems to be less involved with her friend Ava, but I feel like something's gonna happen with that at the end or at some point in the book. But the bunnies are very mysterious. They're very hypersexual in like their readings and writings. And Samantha also kind of at times seems to come off as having like a little bit of a superiority complex. Like she kind of talks trash about their writing, and she also kind of feels like they talk trash about her writing. So I'm sure that's kind of competitive in that way. But anyways, it's interesting and it's weird, and I'm still not 100% sure what's going on. It's magical realism, which I don't read a lot of. I tend to, you know, read contemporary or fantasy. Magical realism isn't something I read a whole lot of. So it's interesting to see how that is tied into the story, especially with other bunnies. Something interesting to me about Ava, I don't quite remember how Ava is described as looking, but her character and personality kind of reminds me of Nancy from The Craft. That's kind of how, like, the vibes I'm getting from Ava so far. And so ever since, you know, Samantha got invited to spend like that first time with the bunnies, her and Ava have been pretty distant from each other. And also, Samantha kind of seems to be in a brain fog at this point in the book. I'm actually, I think, closer to 40% than a third of the way through the book at the moment. And I'm reading this book that way because it's divided into 3 parts. So I just finished part 1, and part 1 seems to be like, you know, the bunnies inviting Samantha into their group. And then it just ended with them, you know, kind of showing Samantha one of their really big secrets. And so I'm interested to see where this goes when I pick it back up. So the Ivies is, you know, pretty much just a YA thriller. It's set at a boarding school, a prestigious boarding school that tries to send kids to Ivy Leagues, right? Whereas Bunny is like, just set at like I'm assuming a somewhat prestigious university. Most of the students there are apparently rich, but apparently there's some weird stuff going on around campus, around town, because it's a prestigious school apparently in a really poor and impoverished area. And so, like, apparently there's a lot of violence in the area once you go off campus. So I'm interested to see if that is tied more into the book, or if it's just something that, Samantha mentions because it worries her whenever she has to be off campus, or when she has to, like, leave campus at night, or, like, try to get from campus to her apartment or something. But I'm interested. I'm enjoying it so far. Alright, so I just finished part two of Bunny, and I'm now about 2/3 of the way through the book. Actually, a little over. I think I'm closer to just over the 70% mark. And I'm still not 100% sure what's going on, but I'm liking the book. I think so far at this point, if I had to quit reading and rate it right now, like if the book were just in right here, I think it could be a 4-star read for me, just based on my enjoyment. And so part one, kind of set up the story. It introduced us to Samantha and Bunny, and by the end of part one, Samantha was like getting more and more involved in that little group. And then part two starts with a time jump to where it's a couple months later, and Samantha is like ingrained in this group. She is so much a part of it that she doesn't even realize how much time's passed. And then she's like and then like something happens to kind of break her out of this group. And now things are just weird because she's lonely again. She's not with the bunnies anymore. Ava, she doesn't know where Ava is. And also the things that the bunnies keep doing with bunnies just keeps getting weird. And Samantha has her turn to try, and things get weird. And just things are weird right now. There's a lot going on. Oh, also, Wilsey wants attention. But like I said, I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. I'm not 100% sure what's going on. I'm not 100% sure what the point is, but I'm actually kind of liking it, despite the fact that I'm not 100% sure or comfortable in with my ability to tell what's going on. I don't know if I'm gonna finish reading it today. I had observation hours this morning, hence why I'm like, I'm not really dressed up, but I'm dressed up for how I dress. Anyways, I'm sorry I don't have any more to say about this book. I am enjoying it, and I am having a good time with it. I just don't really know how to talk about it because I don't know what would be considered a spoiler and what wouldn't be in this book. Plus, it's weird. Alright, hey, I finished Bunny this morning, and it is a 4-star read for me. I'm still not 100% sure what was actually going on, but I really liked the book and I really enjoyed it. Part 3 of the book, you kind of find out more about the best friend Ava, who she really is. You find out more information about the supposed bunny person thing that Samantha played a part in creating and what happens to them. And then at the end of the book, Samantha has the chance to get her degree, her, I guess, Master in Fine Arts degree for her writing. And I would say it was a really interesting and weird book, but I had a good time with it. And it's like one that I want to now. I'm about to have to add it to my like wish list and stuff, and add it to my list of books that I want physical copies of, because I now want a physical copy of this book. It was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really glad I read it. And so I would say that, like if you put books from like most dark academia to least dark academia, then Bunny is currently beating out the Ivies. But I have really enjoyed both books for this vlog, which is exciting, and I'm glad that's gone well. I think I have one more book that I will for sure be reading, another book that I want to also try to read for this vlog. And so I don't really have much else to say about Bunny, because I don't really know how to speak about it without spoiling it. And I also don't even really know what would be considered a spoiler for this book. But it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Very weird, a little confusing, but it worked out. The next book I will read will most likely be A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee, I believe is the author's name. And I'm really excited to start that one. I have the physical book, but I'm most likely going to be listening to the audiobook just because audiobooks are a little bit more convenient for me at the moment. Alright, hey, it's been a few days since I've read anything for this vlog, but I started the audiobook for A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee this morning. I'm just over a third of the way through. I'd be closer to like right at the 33% mark. Maybe technically the 30% mark if I hadn't listened to chapter 10. And chapter 10 was 40 minutes long, so it was quite a long chapter compared to some of the others in this book. But I'm having a good time with this. A Lesson in Vengeance follows Felicity. She is repeating her senior year of high school at this kind of, really know what kind of school it is, because it doesn't really seem like a prep school where the goal is to get into, Ivy League school, and it doesn't really seem like an art school because they have like a lot of STEM programs, but it's like the sporting school for rich girls, some scholarship students. So last year, Felicity's girlfriend Alex died. Felicity either blames herself for her death or is involved in her death in some way. Felicity also has been fighting with herself about whether or not magic is real and whether or not magic is at the root of what killed Alex. Felicity also has to start over her senior thesis because her original topic is no longer approved because of how it either played a role in Alex's death or played a role in like the downfall of Felicity's own mental health. It is a new school year. Felicity's like back in this house she was living in the year before because apparently like, you know, the students were divided into houses and each house has a certain amount of girls, and then I'm assuming it probably has a ratio of how many like adults live in the house to take care of the girls and make sure, you know, that they are behaving responsibly. Now that Felicity is back to finish her senior year, there is a new group of girls in the house that she and Alex had tried so hard to get into, and one of the new girls is Ellis Haley, who is also like a teen novelist who's working on another novel. And Ellis decides to work with Felicity to, I guess, learn more about the lore of the school and these 5 witches who were essentially, you know, described as being important to the school or that a lot of the girls at the school know about. Felicity knows a ton about those witches because she is obsessed with them prior to Alex's death. And so I'm not really 100% sure where this is going. At the 33% mark is literally right whenever Ellis asked Felicity to work with her on her book to help her with research and stuff. I've been listening to this book all day while I clean. This has been a pretty busy week. We've had something to do outside the house every day this week except for today. Today we are staying home, Louise and Rowan and I, and I'm trying to get my house cleaned because it's bugging me. Alright, I just finished chapter 20 and I'm just a little over 2/3 of the way through A Lesson in Vengeance. At this point in the book, at the beginning of the book, I kind of knew what was going on. It felt like I knew what was going on. It felt like I knew where the story was going. At this point, I'm not quite as sure if I know what's going on or where the story is going. Because at this point in the book, you know, Ellis and Felicity are working together to kind of recreate some of the deaths of the girls who were, you know, where the lore is surrounding, where, you know, they may or may not have been witches. And then Ellis is trying to research their deaths for her next book. And they've created their own little coven in order to research, and partly so Ellis can help prove to Felicity that magic isn't real, but also Felicity is wanting to help Ellis, but she doesn't want to play with magic because she believes it's real, and she believes that it's, you know, essentially what caused her girlfriend's death last year. And so Felicity is really struggling, you know, with helping Ellis, trying to, you know, balance what she thinks will keep herself safe versus pleasing Ellis, right? I don't know if this book is going to take, you know, a supernatural or a mental health twist. So, you know, is the magic that Felicity is so scared of, is it real? Or, based off what Ellis is implying whenever, you know, Felicity talks to Ellis, is this all in Felicity's head? Is she, you know, just reeling from the grief she feels? Is she reeling from guilt because she really and truly believes that she played a part in Alex's death? And so is her mental health just really, really poor right now, and she's having just like delusions and stuff about Alex and Alex's ghost and, you know, what else is going on. I don't know which way this book's going to go. I feel like, you know, it's probably going to go the mental health way, but I kind of hope it doesn't. I kind of hope it, you know, stays more on the supernatural side, and, you know, that Felicity's able to prove to the other girls, like, no, I'm not sick, I don't have it, my mental health is fine. But just based off a lot of the signs that you see, I feel like it's probably gonna take the mental health route, but I feel like it could go either way. Like, it could still go either way, and it could still do both. There's no reason why it couldn't do both. I don't know how I feel about it. I am enjoying this book very much so, though. I'm really enjoying it. If I had to rate it right now, it'd probably be about 4 stars. Like, if the book just ended now and I had the same feelings I did, I think it'd be a 4-star read at this point. And I am probably going to finish it today. I also have to say real quick, though, I don't know how I feel about Ellis. I feel like Ellis, you know, truly cares about Felicity, but I don't know how I feel about Ellis as her own character, in the sense that she is, you know, so deep in her own writing and her own method writing and trying to figure out the histories of the lore of the school to use for her writing, and it sometimes feels like she almost takes advantage of Felicity's willingness to help her. But then again, Felicity has made her own decision to help her. So I'm not quite sure how I feel about Ellis. You know, I don't think she's a bad person necessarily, but I do think she's so just engrossed in her own ideas and her own work. At the same time, it's kind of what they're all supposed to be doing. They're all supposed to be engrossed in their own ideas. They're all seniors trying to, you know, get their final projects out to do their senior theses. I'm a little iffy about Ellis and where her relationship's gonna go and like what her character's gonna do, but I'm interested to see how the story ends, and I'm about to just go keep reading. I am listening to the audiobook. I'm just holding the real book up for show. I just finished A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee, and it's going to be a 5-star rating for me, just based off the end. The end of the book was so interesting. A lot happened. I really don't know what to say without, like, you know, spoiling the book. We find out more about Ellis's character. We find out more about, you know, what happened between Felicity and Alex before Alex died. We find out, you know, more about like Ellis's past and how she grew up, and I don't quite know. It's just, I really don't know what I can say without spoiling the book, you know, because by the end of the book, you know whether or not it was mental illness or magic or both or neither or what it was. But this is a 5-star rating for me, and I absolutely love this book. And also, at this point, I'm going to close out this vlog. This was actually a really successful reading vlog, I think. I read, you know, 3 books, 2 5-stars and a 4-star. I really enjoyed all 3 books, but I have had a lot of success with this Dark Academia reading vlog. I know the Ivies probably isn't as Dark Academia as the other 2, but I'm still gonna count. Anyways though, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.